We fill the Inside Politics table each Sunday with reporters, not pundits, and we close by asking them to share a bit of their reporting to help get you out ahead of the big political news just around the corner. Julie Pace?
Even before Donald Trump picks his Secretary of State, his team is starting to look at ambassadors for some of these plum jobs overseas, places like France, Italy, the UK. And this is another area where it looks like Trump is more likely to pick from the swamp than drain it. Some of these big Republican donors who eventually came around and donated to his campaign in the general election are expressing their interest in jobs, and I'm told they're getting a pretty warm reception from the transition team. And when it comes to ambassadors, this is just one of those areas where every time you have a new president, you get a lot of complaints about the influence of money in our politics, and yet it always seems to play out the same way.
Always seems to. If they have a small island left over, maybe some volunteers here at the table. Jonathan?
I'm told that the Trump folks want to make Heidi Heitkamp the Ag Secretary and Joe Manchin the Energy Secretary. Now, this is a brainchild, I'm told, of Reince Priebus, the former RNC chair, who's now going to be the chief of staff of the White House. The idea here, not too subtle, is to take two Democratic senators out of the Senate who both happen to be what? Up for re-election in Trump states in 2018, put them in the cabinet, and add 2 seats to the GOP ranks. One complication, though. My understanding is the Heitkamp actually prefers interior or energy rather than ag, so it could be some haggling there.
We'll watch that one. Some more announcements this week. We'll see if any Democrats among them. Jeff?
So Donald Trump is heading to Iowa as part of his victory lap on Thursday, and Iowa Republicans wonder if he's going to shake up the state's politics as he arrives. Terry Branstad, the long-serving Republican governor, is being eyed to be the ambassador to China. He has long relations with China. He supported Donald Trump from the very beginning. I talked with a couple of people in the Trump transition yesterday. They said, yes, he is indeed on the very top of the list for that. Not done, of course, but watch Iowa on Thursday when Donald Trump heads out there. President Xi lived in Iowa as a college student, Muscatine, Iowa, knows Terry Branstad well, so keep an eye on the state of Iowa.
That would be an important, a grown-up at a sensitive time in that relationship. Abby?
Well, Donald Trump supporters voted for him because he wasn't a typical Republican, he wasn't a typical Democrat. His infrastructure plan, carrier deal, position on trade, all fit into that mold. His aides this week expressed some acknowledgement that he can't really break out of that mold. He can't really become a typical Republican once he gets to Washington. So we should look for this as a kind of frame for how to understand the Trump administration. He has to keep being the outsider in Washington, especially when it comes to sticking it to both his party and to the other side. That's the key to keeping his voters happy for the next 4 years.
Make everybody happy, but also disappoint everybody along the way, most likely. I'll close with this. The big cabinet jobs, understandably, are getting the big attention, but the president-elect's to-do list also includes expressing his preference for someone to lead the Republican National Committee. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie is the biggest name in this conversation at the moment, but there's talk that Trump top campaign aide David Bossie is interested, and Nick Ayers, a key member of Vice President-elect Pence's team, also gets mentions. So do several longtime GOP activists, some of them from important states out there. The protocol is pretty simple after a White House win. It is the president's choice. Among those who presumably get input, though, is the man Jonathan just mentioned, the current party chairman, Reince Priebus, now in line to be White House chief of staff. I'm told his conversations with friends about this choice in recent days have focused on finding a campaign veteran who will focus on the nuts and bolts, not a big ego who will look to create another Washington power center. You can read that, if you haven't already, as proof that Priebus is concerned about the Christie idea. But we should make this clear, it is the new president's call and his alone. That's it for us this morning.